The north side can be considered a lot of things to a lot of people. From the wheelers and dealers, to the athletes, to the aspirational people, to the killers, to the crackheads, to everybody, right? The mothers and kids. It could be considered a lot of things. It could be considered safe, a place of familiarity, dangerous. But one thing it's considered to me is home. From the Hostess Bakery smells at 7 o'clock in the evening every day, to playing Matthew Dickey, or playing at Matthew Dickey, to arguing with people from Herbert Hoover. You feel me? But that's what made us. And ever since that tornado, it feels like they trying to forget about us. So these films or these videos are here to give y'all a glimpse into the people that are born, bred, and still live here. So as I sit on the porch of the house that I grew up in, and I almost was born in, except for it's right across the street, I bring to you, this is the North.
What's up, y'all? Marty Joe Murray, State Representative of 78th District here. The thing that I need people to know, this tornado came, swept through our community on May 16th, but we still feeling these effects months later. It's gonna take years to rebuild North St. Louis. And it won't happen by happenstance, it won't happen from politicians, it's gonna happen because of people in the community that have been here, coming together and holding people accountable. So when that tornado hit, you know, my reality, what happened, I think, you know, I got a call from my wife and she was telling me like, man, I think this is serious, you know, are you safe? And I'm like, you know, what's going on? Because she didn't hear no sirens, but we heard people talking about how bad the storm was coming through St. Louis. So within minutes, I say like, soon as it cleared up, I hop in the car, you know, I had to go pick up my daughter from daycare, went straight up to the north side and I saw the devastation. This is like, you know, before cars, trucks, anything were out there cleaning stuff up, and we having to swerve through just seeing. It was like straight rooftops in the street, you know, and the reality that was just so present of how serious it was. You know, so me and my daughter, we just walking through, like seeing the damage, making phone calls to talk about like what needs to happen as far as a response.
Right.
You know, I saw organizers. You know, I think the first person I bumped into was Tory Russell. You know, on the north side, we bumped into him like, all right, what we gonna do? You know, everybody was in the mindset of, all right, we need to jump to action. You know, we need to save folks. We need to make sure we get people to organize. So I think the first thing he said was like, we meeting up at the O'Fallon YMCA, and I ended up bumping into O'Hun. And that's, you know, right before the People's Hub was even a thing. I think it was like large tree branches up there. We had folks cutting down trees so we could give access to vehicles. And the reality of that, man, it's one of them things where when you see natural disasters happen on TV, you like, oh, you know, that'll never happen in my community. And it reminded me of like Katrina, you know, like that night, the weeks and the days that, you know, from that point of when Kanye was like, George Bush doesn't care about black people. I felt that, you know what I'm saying? Because if it wasn't for like the People Response Hub, if it wasn't for the Ville, if it wasn't for all the amazing organizations that just popped up, people would have just been out.
Right.
You feel me? Like, and I felt like we already know the history of like the disinvestment that has taken place in St. Louis. You know, we could talk about the 1970s Team 4 plan, you know, where it was literally codified in the city policy on disinvestment in our community. You know, whether that be letting these communities just fail and depriving them from any oxygen and resources to be able to focus on other areas in St. Louis on the south side. So we could talk about that in the history of it. And this tornado was just one other thing that just, you know, added insult to injury, you know, for our community. So, I mean, for me, I think that's like the reality of it. It's like, and when we talk about rebuilding, it's like, how do we do that in a way that makes sure that it's not outside entities coming in and just accelerating the gentrification in our communities. So that's like a big focus for me, is making sure that we don't do that, and making sure that all the resources get diverted to heal this community. Because if we don't say something, if we don't get vocal, then they just gonna do what they've always done.
So what's some of the things that you would like the public to arm? How can they arm themselves in order to make sure that that doesn't become a reality?
I mean, it's showing up in the spaces where they make those decisions, right? So the state of Missouri, we just gave $100 million to the city for redevelopment, you know, not necessarily redevelopment, but to recovery efforts, you know, and the city being able to dictate how that money is spent.
Right.
So from the city's perspective, you know, if nobody is telling them how they want that money to be spent, they gonna do what they think is best. And I think, you know, with that $100 million from the state, they looking at debris cleanup, you know, but debris cleanup ain't gonna necessarily put a roof back on your house.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if the community ain't there at the table telling them how they need to dictate and use that money, then they gonna make the decisions without that input. So I think that's really important for people to show up at the state. You know, when we having these public hearings, tap in with who your state representative is, tap in who your alder person is. I think the city has it's like STL recovers or something like that. Tapping into all those spaces where they make those decisions and make your voices heard.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanna tell the people, or like whatever it is, man? You can say whatever you want to say.
I mean, just it's hard to even put it into words, you know, because it's people in City Hall who are making decisions that never even step foot in North St. Louis.
Oh man.
You feel me? They own 70, you know, they wouldn't even hop out to go to a gas station, let alone walk the community or talk to people on their doorsteps to know what it's like, the reality of life in this community. So unless we start getting folks elected from North St. Louis that's at the table to make those decisions, it's hard for me to believe that a lot of change is gonna happen. I mean, we got some real people that's out here doing amazing work. You know, we got some real hitters out there, but we also got a lot of people who playing in our faces. So I think that we got to start holding them accountable for the decisions they make.
What's the word, y'all? I ain't went live in a couple days, just letting you know we still out here. Got my buddy here, but we still out trying to help the community. I'll show y'all the progress of everything.
We're still trying to help and give food to everyone, and I'm literally praying for the people that got hurt and didn't.
Yeah, there you go.
So they will live a longer life.
Yeah, what she said.